up on my screen so I can keep an eye on chat. I've started a couple of minutes early, but don't worry, I'm not going to start painting just yet. I don't even know if this is actually come on. For some reason it's not popping up on my little channel thing, so where are we live? Let's go back to home for a second. And we'll just quickly see where we are with everything. Well, I've got a feeling this isn't working properly. Right, okay, it's popped up. There we go. We're in business. Hey! Technical difficulties. Just a quick minute in. There we go. So look, hi, my name's Rob. This is Cat Rabbit Scale Model Studios. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. Obviously making painting videos and stuff like that can be a little bit hard to do sometimes. So what I thought I would do is do a live painting thing and a little bit of a hobby hangout and stuff like that. People drop in and out. I'll be chatting away about some stuff. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to kind of paint some, or how I paint worn leather. I think is a good kind of thing. I get asked for it. People see my Chaplins and stuff like that for 40k. Great stuff. They like it, which is really, really lovely. I get asked for it about a lot, and obviously within the realms of capability, being I guess a gonzo YouTuber, making paint videos and stuff like that, it's really, really time consuming. I'm never too worried about videos doing like thousands and thousands of views and stuff like that, but obviously you want your videos also to do, you know, you want people to actually see them and for them to actually be able to help people. So one thing that I do get asked for a bit is how I paint like the worn leather that I've done on my Chaplin. I'll just go and grab him. He's just here, so we can all see what I'm banging on about. He is just there. He is. I'm just going to give him a super quick little dust as well, because I do have my Dark Angels out on a board, little display board, just so I can peruse and look at them whenever I want. So this is the leather that I'm talking about. So as you can see here, it's got nice depth to it. It's got all the little scuffs and dinks and stuff like that we expect from leather and things like that. And it's a really, really great effect, and it's really easy to do. You need 3 paints. You don't use any washes or anything like that. It is just really, really easy, and it's quite fun to do actually, making all the little scuffs and that. So with Skaven Tide, obviously I was kind of given a box of Skaven Tide, which is great. I've got the Lord. Do you know what? I forget this guy's name. The big axe guy that people kind of voted for. I think I put the thing back in the box. Lord Telios or something. He's got this fantastic kind of cloak, and you know he's just really, really cool looking. So what I thought I would do is, I think looking at Stormcast, I actually have got my Stormcast book just here next to me. This was actually the first Codex I ever bought. This is the last Stormcast Battle Tome that I actually bought. I think this is a fantastic book. So we're just going to quickly flick through it. I'm going to show you some of the bits that I kind of wanted to do. So I like a lot of these, like Sons of Malice and stuff like that. However, I think the Anvils of Heldenhammer would be a really, really lovely scheme to do. I think it would complement the worn leather, make them look a bit more really, really almost like grim dark-ish, but instead of like pinkish plumage, I'm going to do a lovely bright vibrant red. I'm going to show you how to paint the cloak in the next one. That's obviously permitting time wise and stuff like that. This will be the cloak in question. I'll show you how I do that. It's all well and good, I think, sometimes doing painting videos and stuff like that, and you watch it and, you know, 8 minutes you go, oh, I feel that I've learnt that. Obviously it doesn't take me 8 minutes to paint these things. So I think doing it in real time sometimes is a bit of an honest way to show you how the methods actually work. So that's what I'm going to do. And over the course of the week, maybe we'll paint this guy up together. I've got him in sub-assemblies here, like his big axe and stuff like that. I'll do the worn leather today. We'll do the cloak maybe Wednesday or Friday with Josh from Free Spires. I think he's going to pop in and do it with us. And then any other little bits I might do. But what I have done is I've painted the inside of the legs. This is just Raven Black from Colourforge, and it's got a really, really good dose of Black Templar over it. That's all I'm doing for that. You're not really going to see inside it. It's going to be hidden by either his cloak or his kind of like where he's standing on his little tactical rock, if you will. I'm just going to push him onto it just really, really gently there. And I'm going to pop him onto this. This is going to allow me to kind of, hopefully he's not too loose. I think he'll be all right. There we go. This is where we'll be painting him from. So, right, worn leather, really easy, 3 colours. For a primer on the outside, this is Leadbelcher by Citadel, just because it's easier for me to wash all the silver armour in Black Templar and be done with it later. But the colours we are going to need, and for the purpose of this demonstration and this video, I do have a wet palette kind of just here to my, you can kind of see it just there. I will be using a wet palette. I think they're a great tool. I've said this many times for just thinning your paints, not having to worry so much about it. You get good consistency. Is it a bit more watery sometimes? Yes, but you know what? If you're not chucking it on thick, it's always going to be thinner. Even if it's more coats, you're going to get a lovely smooth finish, which is exactly kind of what we want. I will just be chatting about some other things as well. I did want to really quickly just grab Instagram up in the background as well. And I do have a cup of tea in my trusty Fenris Workshop mug that was kindly sent to me by Gabe and the team over in Canada. I did get a message from which really made me laugh. I just want to talk about this before we paint because I thought it was really funny. So people that maybe know me a little bit more, I know I'm quite a private person and I don't really talk about myself and stuff like that. I love you know, seeing people's work. I always say to people, if you're proud of something, send it to me. I'd love to see it. I think it's a really lovely thing to share, and I think it's a really personal thing to share your work with someone else. I was really humbled to be featured in the community article with, you know, one of the rat ogres that I painted. I thought it was really great, you know, to be in a Skaven Tide article. Age of Sigmar is what got me into kind of Warhammer and Games Workshop and stuff 6 years ago. So to be part of, you know, the community team that got to paint these early and submit in and actually be featured, I was really pleased. That article went out to on Instagram alone. They have 636,000 followers. So the community article went out, and it's an amazing achievement. You know, it's not often that I go, you know, just being there. It's good, but it was my first time being featured. I was really chuffed. I got a message just before I went live today. Hi there, I saw you posted your rat ogre and I would like to share it on our Hangout and Paint show on YouTube. Are you happy for me to do so? If you are, could you also let me know what your preferred pronouns are, blah blah blah. Just to let you know, the show is at 6 PM UK time on Friday the 19th of July, RAF. Now, I've always taken the stance that that's been featured. I don't need to show that again. It's in an article and I'm really privileged for it to be so. So what I tend to do when people reach out to me, and it's happened a few times on Warhammer, they said, can we show stuff? And I have been shown before. So what I do is I do try and say no, but please show someone else that hasn't been featured before. And today is no different. So I have just kind of put it on there. I thought that was really funny. I said I was featured in the Skaven community article. Why not give another artist a spotlight? And hopefully someone else can get a chance to kind of, you know, show their work off. It always weirds me out that there doesn't seem to be that much communication between like the Hangout, the community, stuff like that. I've been featured. I'm part of the community team. You know, I don't need to be featured, and I honestly don't feel that I should be featured. In all fairness, I think, you know, it should go to someone that hasn't been featured before. You know, regardless of how good work is. So, you know, hopefully that kind of gives someone else a little spotlight. But I've done that 3 or 4 times. I've recommended people in the past. I think it's a good thing to pass on, you know, that opportunity to people. So there we go. That was a nice surprise. It was always nice to be humble to have your work asked to be on there again. I think that, you know, that was lovely, but I just think a little bit unnecessary. So right, worn leather, because I've been rambling for 10 minutes now already. So be fair. So the first one we're going to use, these are our colours we're going to be using today. We're going to be using Mournfang Brown, we're going to be using Rhinox Hide, and we are going to be using Carrack Stone. Obviously give them all a really good shake. I have mine stored up right. Don't worry, these aren't like out of date or anything like that. A good shake and they will all be kind of looking how we need them to be. There you go, much better. But the first colour we're going to use is Mournfang Brown. Now, ideally what I've got here is I've got a dark tone, a mid-tone and a light tone. And people that know the way I work, people who've seen the videos before, you know the ideology is that I work kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then I do that in reverse for my light or my depth. I prefer to start with my mid-tone and then go to my dark, and then I will actually kind of like start working in my highlight colours and stuff like that. What I am going to just do, just so you can see what I'm doing, is I'm just going to pop my wet palette like this, and I'll use kind of this end here so you can see, you know, what I'm doing. Obviously, you can see there as I tap it, there's a bit of water in there. It's not swimming. If I kind of touch that, my hands feel ever so slightly kind of damp, but it's not swimming, and that's how I set up my wet palette. It's kind of level with the paper, as you can see on my finger there. But the first thing I am going to use, and I will use this for a base coat as well, I'm just going to get a good old bit and I'm just going to pop it on. And as you can see, what it will start to do is absorb the kind of water through the parchment, and already we've got a consistency that's absolutely spot on. That's why I really like wet palettes. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to start base coating this on. This is going to take a couple because obviously I am working over a silver paint. Ideally I would have gone over a black, but it was easier for me to do a large chunk of the armour in silver first. So there we go. Do let me know, Josh, all right mate, how are you? What you're working on today and how you are, what your hobby plans for the week. And then what we will do is start rambling about some of the week's events. It felt like a really eventful week on social media last week. There was a lot going on, and I kind of feel that it should be talked about. I think sometimes maybe I don't speak up with things because, you know, obviously I have a standard of professionalism to keep up online, and it's kind of like arguing with strangers on the internet is never really my thing in that kind of regard. You know, you don't want to become known for, I guess, being that person. However, I do feel in some instances that I'd like to pipe up a bit more and maybe put people in their place with what they're kind of saying and stuff like that, because I think some of it is a little bit rotten. No, Josh, it's a pleasure for you to be here, mate. I believe we're going to be doing a live on Wednesday. I think we're going to do Wednesday, are we? Together? Let me know. That would be great to sit down and have a good ramble. So obviously it's worth me mentioning that I don't really know the people in question. This is just how it's perceived by me from the outside. Putting up Volga, and it's a great, do you know what, when you showed me Matt earlier, Kado, I can't say surname, Ezekar or something, like straight away I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I'd have to maybe let that one jump ahead in the queue. I think Volga is such a good dynamic mini. You don't see enough really good paint jobs on Volga, personally. Like that is a really good painter's piece, and you know, if you wanted to flex, you could really go to town on that. And I think you don't see enough of her out there. I think it's a great looking mini. I think the you know, I've got my Soul Blight, my Skirgan True Blades just in front of me that I want to get back to working on. But I think the Soul Blight have some fantastic miniatures. They really do. A lot of HQs, a lot of heroes. I think they're a great looking faction. They really are. If I didn't have to paint so many skeletons and, you know, knights and zombies, I would probably consider a Soul Blight army. But Horde armies, they're just not for me. But yeah, she's a fantastic looking. Yeah, she is. She's a wee little thing. You don't realise. I often find coming from Space Marines to I guess, any other faction, you don't realise how diddy absolutely everything is, which is always quite funny. You kind of get used to Space Marines and you go, oh, you know, they're so small. And then when you actually got to paint like a human, you think, blimey, it's tiny. You know, it's really, which was on good steed. I hope. Honestly, you know, you're a fantastic painter anyway. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. You know, you've with what you've done with like your Soul Blight stuff. Flesh Eater Courts. You smash it, mate. Just take your time and enjoy it. That's all I would do. It's a great miniature, great couple of miniatures actually you've got there. I'd be excited to start. It wouldn't matter which one I think is started first. I think you've got some great miniatures to work on. I'd be excited to kind of get one done to start the other and enjoy both of them. So absolutely. Where are we? So yes, now just it's worth mentioning. I don't know the hobbyists in question personally and stuff like that. I only know of them, but I do kind of just want to chat about it because I think it's something that needs to be spoken about. So there was a lot. People know Mamikon. Is his name Mamikon? You always see him advertising Patreon and tech stuff and bits like that, I believe. Yeah, we'll break a leg with that one. I don't know. Yeah, so Mamikon, I hope I'm saying the name right. Again, it's worth noting that I don't know these individuals on a personal level. So he kind of talks about Patreon and wanting to, you know, teach people how to paint, and there's this whole story about, you know, when he was younger, he painting and stuff like that, and you know, no one to show him, and you know, all this stuff, and there was this philanthropy thing that he was apparently doing that I don't think anyone kind of joined in with. It kind of died of death. Now I don't know the guy. I don't even think I follow him. I don't know enough about him to kind of comment, but there was he put a thing up, like a reel or something, and someone did say about like you know, regardless of your work, you know, it's a lovely job that you've done. I think it was like a picture of a shield that he put up, and he was kind of, you know, and this person kind of then commented, was like, you know, I can't rightly join your Patreon, and because of how misogynistic, you know, some of your stuff is. There was some stuff that he had taken snippets from an OnlyFans account and to advertise his Patreon and stuff like that. And I know we're all looking for more like creative ways to stand out from the crowd, and you know, you want to appeal to that kind of frat bro kind of like attitude, but I think like sometimes it's not a good look, and I think sometimes people do that because their work doesn't, you know, maybe they're trying to get audience, or they change, or they're just it's not in my taste, if I'm completely honest with you. So somebody turned around and said, look, you know, would you consider your reels kind of being a bit misogynistic, and you know, what's kind of going on here. I've actually got all the screenshots saved on my phone, but I can't look at my phone because I'm using it as a camera. It's just kind of like, you know, this kind of attitude of being, I don't know, you know, a bit like, I think if you're going to do stuff like that, you need to be ready for people to challenge it. Unfortunately, the internet has chosen to give everyone a voice, and people will use that voice when they don't agree with things. You know, whether you think, you know, it's fine, it's okay, it's whatever. However, the comeback on this was he then turned round after the person had challenged him and basically said, like, you know, look, it's a bit misogynistic, mate. You know, what's going on here? That he hits back straight away and goes, yeah, but you're, you know, a rubbish painter. And I think in the realms of painting, especially from someone that pretends to be someone that wants to kind of educate people and teach people to paint, I think that's probably one of the worst things you could say, because it shows that it doesn't really matter who you're with or the person. As soon as they don't agree with something, rather than have that conversation that says, okay, well, you know, maybe I didn't realize I was doing that, you know, would you mind if I sent you a message? Maybe we could have a chat. And, you know, to just jump straight in and call someone an awful painter, I think it's pretty rotten. Sorry, just quickly, Disco Lego. No, please don't do that. That's ridiculous. Just enjoy the stream. That's all I ask. Please don't give me money. I'll only spend it poorly on alcohol on a Friday night. Don't do it. And I think that shows that there's a lot of false kind of with this Mamicon guy. Again, I don't know him. I don't think I would bother to get to know him anymore. Regardless, I think that is something that I would not tolerate. I've always said that we work at different skill levels. That's what makes this hobby so beautiful in that regards. That everyone should be proud of what they do, regardless of skill level, because, you know, someone's maximum effort might be my little effort. It doesn't mean they've tried any less than the next person, you know, or individual. So I do really dislike when people kind of trash people's work as, you know, an attack, because I think that's pretty rotten. If I'm honest with you, I would, if I were his sponsors, I would be absolutely mortified, if I'm completely honest. Is that a bit of cloth in there? No, it's chainmail. Okay, good. So just quickly to get back to painting, I will just say, look, so you can see that all I'm doing is I'm just working my way round. I'm going over and over and over. I've got these lovely thin coats. And what you can see, we're starting to get a really good solid matte colour. This is what we want. This is the foundations for absolutely everything we're going to do with this model. And it's going to make everything really, really easy. And I think this is definitely the, you know, a wet palette helps with this, you know, untold. You know, okay, I do have to load my brush up a little bit more because the paint is a little bit thinner, you know, and I probably will have to do a couple of coats, but it's definitely worth it. Take your time. You're going to get a great effect with this. So, yeah, and obviously, like, the guy clapped back and, you know, which is, you know, fair enough. I think that's a bit of a rubbish attack. And then, funny enough, Emma on Darkened Wings, absolutely love them to bits, did kind of say, hang on a minute, you know, they're actually not a bad painter. He's pointing out one thing and you're attacking him for, you know, something quite personal. And he was like, oh, well, you know, people always say stuff, you know, horrible to me, and I was just saying stuff back. And I think that's really poor. I think that's a really, really poor excuse. There needs to be, if you are teaching someone, a level of professionalism from that person, especially if you're making money off of them. You know, that's what I think is proper rotten, for someone to turn around and be like, yeah, well, you're just a crap painter. That to me shows that individual that has said that doesn't really care about painters. They care about people that pay to learn. There's no passion there from anyone else. Like, I just think that's a really, it's a way of getting personal really, really quickly with someone. And I think that's rotten, if I'm completely honest with you. I think that's a really, really lousy response. And I think it's a really lousy kind of attitude to have from someone that is, you know, has a large following. There were claims that he had bought a lot of followers. I know people that have bought followers. They're really easy to spot. You just look for people where they're like their biggest fan base is like Turkey or Hungary, and they're just one, you know, silly names, one picture, that's it, no posts. You can spot people that have bought followers an absolute mile off, especially on places like Instagram, without even doing something like Social Blade, which will break down, you know, the demographics and the spikes and stuff like that, and it's easy to spot. I think people kind of sometimes forget this stuff exists and that you can just type in someone's username and check this. So there were claims that he'd bought a lot of followers, you know, I believe he'd won a gold demon, if I'm not mistaken. To what extent, I don't know. Once again, I don't know the guy as a person. As I said, I probably wouldn't. So I did just want to chew the fat with that one, because I think that's a really horrible thing to say. You know, it's like if I was teaching people how to paint on YouTube videos and asking for donations and stuff like that. And then as soon as somebody's like, oh, well, you didn't really show the model there, and all of a sudden I just kind of leap in there and I start kind of hammering that person, well, oh, you're crap anyway, you couldn't follow my methods, you know. I think that just shows there's like, you're not really interested in teaching people to paint. You're interested in people looking at you, and it almost feeds an ego, as opposed to kind of, you know, that type of attitude, if you will, which is rotten. I think that's really, really horrible for someone to do that. I get you shouldn't have to sit there and take criticism unwanted. However, I always say that you are on the internet, and if you're constantly advertising yourself, you've got to be open to it. Unfortunately, the internet has made everyone available, and it's made everyone, you know, like accessible, and people have a voice and they're going to use it, you know, whether you want them to or not. You'll get nice people that you make. You know, I've got lovely friends that are in the chat right now. You know, Matt, Josh is one of my best friends in the world. I love him to bits. If it weren't for painting, I would never have met him. You know, Matt, a fantastic painter, shows me his work. It's a privilege, you know, and I kind of think I'm really lucky to have that. However, I think if you're then really trashing people's work, I think it shows a really, really bad side to people. And I think it shows that maybe teaching isn't the right thing for you. So that was kind of the issue. Once again, sometimes I feel that I should speak up a little bit more. Quick refill there. However, sometimes I kind of think, you know, it's not really my place to say, but I guess it's okay, or it's my place to talk about it and get other people's feelings and stuff like that. And you're horrible. You really. That's why Josh knows me. God, I say some awful things. But that is kind of, you know, where we are. That was the Mamacon Mamacon situation. Again, apologies, I don't know how to say the name if I'm butchering it. You know, if you've got any, you know, 2s or 4s or against that, then by all means let me know. But I just personally, it's one of those things that you sit there, you look at, and you go, bloody hell, like there's nothing you're really going to say now that's going to come off and make you look like the good guy. And I think that's a bit unfortunate, to see people, you know, whether you just react in the heat of being frustrated, but also at the same time you're in a position where you're teaching and educating people, and they're looking to you for answers and looking to you for guidance, so they're actually looking at you constantly. So I think it's definitely, yeah, Matt, yeah, you, me, yeah, you. So it's definitely, you know, so there we go. So that was kind of like the first kind of bit of drama that we had in the week. There was one that was brought to my attention on the weekend. Again, I don't know how I feel about it. Those that know me know that I am a father of 2 young girls, 12 and 8. You know, my wife's family all predominantly females. So I guess I've always kind of been part of that whole kind of females surround me and stuff like that. And maybe my outlook's a little bit different to kind of people or something like that. But, you know, I've always respected and as equals, if you will, you know, without sounding absolutely, you know, awful and stuff like that, you know, without whatever. So having, you know, young girls and stuff like that, I like to think that my girls, you know, one day will absolutely rule the world. They're amazing, you know, spirits, and they just, you know, they're just so full of life and energy and stuff like that. Obviously my oldest is creeping into her teenage years now. You see the changes and stuff like that. So what happens when, you know, and I get art is subjective. Before I carry on, I'm just going to explain what I'm doing. So now everything's dry and we've got this really nice base coat. It's a really good solid colour, as you can see. I always think silver's not always the easiest paint to cover up. But next we are going to do our shade. I've just put a little bit of Mournfang Brown on my wet palette. Next I'm going to get Rhinox Hide, and all I'm going to do, you don't need much, just going to get a little brush full there, and I'm just going to dump some next to it and some kind of in the middle. And what I'm going to start doing is mixing the Mournfang Brown into the Rhinox Hide. This is going to give me a mid-tone. I am going to add a bit of water to that. I want this to be running really, really smoothly. I wouldn't advise anything like Flow Improver for this step. I mean, purely that's going to force it down into the cracks, and it's not going to kind of go where we want to. But all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work more around the model. And the reason why I wanted to use this one in particular is, you see we've got these lovely creases, and it's gutting to know that when I actually put the back on, you're not going to see all of this hard work. But hey, we know it's there, so don't worry. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start working into the creases, just like that. I'm going to work my way around. Don't worry, we're going to repeat this step a couple of times, but I'm just going to work my way around in the deep bits. So yes, getting back to it, art is subjective. I completely get that, and obviously what you want out of art is two, you know, very different things. What I would consider art, what you might consider art, again, two very different things. So it was sent to me, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. It was a model of Wednesday Addams, obviously being, I guess, looking a bit older, but it was quite an explicit model. Now, I get people want to practice different things, and obviously we get different things out of the hobby and stuff like that. However, like, this was, you know, really highly sexualized, and in the description it is of Wednesday Addams. Now, the problem I have kind of with this, I say I have it's a bit of I would consider a bit of a no-brainer in this regard, is that Wednesday Addams is like a 14-year-old girl. So why are we making sexualized products of a 14-year-old girl? And more importantly, why are people kind of painting them in such an explicit manner? I just don't know how I feel about it. Again, this is purely, I guess, from a parental perspective. You know, again, the work on offer, you know, it is a little bit irrelevant, if I'm completely honest with you, because the piece itself is so explicit. Now you go, yeah, but it's not, you know, Wednesday Addams. It's a grown-up version. Yeah, but it's based on a character that is Wednesday Addams, who, you know, and I think it's a little bit worrying because, you know, obviously with like the Netflix show and stuff like that, and I've watched it. I thought it was great. I think Jenna Ortega was fantastic in it. Are people watching this kind of thing and kind of being, there was some pretty weird comments, I'm not going to lie. There was one calling it his wife, which I thought were a bit odd, if I'm honest with you. If you're in the chat and it was you that called him his wife, guide. I don't quite know how I, you know, should feel about this one. It's a bit odd. It's like, would you paint a bust of a child but then just make her a little bit older? Like, does that make it okay? Like, in my opinion, absolutely not. It just makes it even weirder, if I'm honest with you. So, you know, there was a bit of back and forth with that one. I thought it was quite an interesting subject. That's probably the weird way of saying it, but it was definitely something that I'd never kind of considered before with art. When does art become, I guess, you know, I don't want to say pornographic or anything like that, but when does it become like not art, if that makes sense? When you're kind of like, you know, looking at this type of stuff, it's just a bit odd, I think. And I think it's because in the back of your mind, subconsciously, it's there, isn't it? You know, I don't know, it's an iffy one. so there was that. I know it did do the rounds on Instagram again. I don't know the person of the name who pointed it out. Again, not really a subject for me or anything like that. So I think it's one for you guys to make up your own mind on that type of thing. I have, as you can see here, we're starting to get some depth. And again, we haven't used any shades just yet. We got some nice depth, you know, coming into the recesses. You can keep going over it a few times. Might be a little difficult to see here, but see where I've only been over it once. It looks a touch patchy. What we can do is we can just paint in some more. Because it's so close to the Mournfang brown and we've made it really watery, it will just separate and kind of spread, and it will do like all the hard work for us. This is kind of like the really easy fun stage that we can just carry on working our way around until we get the, I guess, the desired effect of what we want. Again, we can just keep building up until you're happy with the depth. If you don't want it, you know, dark or that dark or anything like that, perfectly fine. If you want to add more water to your brush, by all means do so. But what I'm going to do now, and you can see I've got this little splodge here, I'm now going to mix some more Mournfang brown, Rhinoxide into the Mournfang brown. This is what, you know, we're going to slowly start darkening. And this is what I mean when I say I work, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because we've gone, you know, nice and bright. Now we're going 2 back, and now we're going to work forward. And it's just I find it's probably a longer process, but it does give a really good effect. However, this time I'm not going to work my way up the folds. I'm just going to put this into the darkest parts of the miniature. So here, again, this kind of bit here, we're just going to work that in just all the way down, like that. And that's, again, that's going to give us that depth that we really, really want. Same again, just here. You won't need many coats of this one. It will cover quite quickly. Just make sure that you're working it all the way in. Same again. I'll probably do like maybe 2 passes of this, but you can see already we've got that lovely depth. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's exactly what we want. Just work our way around. And I guess the last one is that I did want to kind of talk about today is good old Midwinter Minis. Now, you know, it's no kind of secret that I guess Guy has kind of said things in the past that he hasn't then further explained, and just people have just kind of like forgotten about it. I think it's quite rotten what he's actually said to a few people previously. You know, I'm not going to go into the politics of it all. Obviously the whole kind of historic wargamers are Nazis conversation, I think was incredibly in ill taste from him. The problem with being I guess a persona and having, you know, a personality on YouTube and social media is that sometimes your views aren't always going to line up. If that's what you feel, okay, fine. But I don't believe that you should then kind of be pushing your beliefs on people. I find that the bigger people get, sometimes they kind of forget that, you know, you can't always just say this stuff. But there was a Conservative MP that recently put up that he painted Warhammer. I'm not going to name the individual. Now, obviously, being in the UK, we've just had one of our worst political kind of parties ever. I mean, I don't necessarily really think that either of the parties that, you know, politically were, I guess, great. And I'm not going to discuss politics. One thing I will not discuss on this channel is religion and politics. But let's just say he's not a very liked individual. And good old Midwinter Minis was, you know, there's a lot of people happy to be out of the Conservative kind of reign, asking for a, you know, come onto my channel and do a battle report. I think it's very in ill taste. Obviously the comment I think he realised was in ill taste. It was quickly removed, and we haven't seen anything addressed regarding it, which is probably for the better. Do I use Flow Improver? No, if I'm completely honest with you. I've had this, I bought this from Hobbycraft in the UK a while ago. You can see actually how much I've got left. You know, I've had this for a little while ago. If I do use an airbrush, which is absolutely never, because the fucking thing's always breaking down on me. They're a bane of my life, airbrushes. I do sometimes use Flow Improver for things like plasma effects. When I want a paint to really sink in nice and deep and I want all that pigment to kind of bind into a corner, is definitely Flow Improver time. I will try and explain why Flow Improver is a really good thing. Obviously, if you're using it with neat paint, it kind of spreads the pigment quite evenly, which is quite nice. If you add a lot of Flow Improver to a little paint, what it will actually do is, say you've got a crevice, when you add like water to a paint or something like that, it will eventually dry, and you get kind of it as it dries down, it will get, you know, you'll get your most solid part of the color here, and everything else will taper downwards. What Flow Improver will do is actually it will force everything down, so you can literally run it into almost like panel lining. It's really, really good in some instances, but I do think it is a cautionary tale, Flow Improver. Definitely something for airbrushes. I am just going to hold this guy up to the fan. Obviously, I've added another bit of Rhinox hide to my deeper sections again. So I just want this to dry. I've got a little fan going in the room. Did he do that with Henry Cavill as well? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I tend not to try and pay attention to the bigger YouTube channels. I'm not a big, as I've said before, I don't watch a lot of hobby YouTube stuff on YouTube. I like speedruns. I watch speedruns of games a lot, a hell of a lot, probably more than what I probably should. And I like, I do watch some horror games being played. I like long plays. I like long plays of old games, and I do very much enjoy jazzy lo-fi kind of tunes as well. I don't watch a lot of hobby. There's not many channels that I would consider recommending to people on YouTube, just purely because, one, it's subjective. Rick Driver, thanks mate, no, appreciate it. We're only kind of halfway there. The next step is going to get really, really easy, and it's going to become a lot, you know, quicker as it goes up. But you can see we've got some lovely clean depth there. That's exactly what we want in this instance. Obviously, I've been rambling away for, I guess, oh well, we didn't start till 10 minutes in, so about half an hour. But you know, it's definitely, it's an easy thing to do. It's just time consuming. But like most things, like I say with people when painting, you know, practice makes improvement, and sometimes methods that, although they are easy, they are just time consuming. And unfortunately, that's just something that, you know, sometimes if you want a really good effect, you've got to put the time in. So it's definitely, I think, something where it gives a really, really good effect, but it's going to cost you your time. It's the yellow, it's the orange of painting things like yellow, orange, whites. They're easy, but what they demand is patience. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to kind of get a little bit aggravated. I've just realized you can see Trug in the corner of the live. Yeah, Trug's here with my Trug offs that I've been working on, so they're there. You know, sometimes you just need to accept that it's going to take time. Get yourself a cup of tea, find something good to watch, and just crack on. It's the best way I can kind of put it. You know, enjoy the process. I'm just waiting for this section just here to dry. I want to add a bit of depth into here, but there we are. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about a lot of what's been going on this week. It feels that like Instagram is a very hot place at the moment. And when I say hot, I don't mean like hot as in it's the place to be. I mean hot as in like everyone's a bit hot and bothered, and people are like lashing out at each other, and, you know, really kind of it's just a bit of a place where I get, you know, reach and engagement has been killed by a lot of things. Instagram doesn't help itself. It's difficult, it's frustrating. You know, I've been on Instagram for 6 years now. I've always kind of done well. You know, 20,000 followers in the bag, I don't think that's anything to sniff at. I love my community. I generally put my hand on my heart and say that, you know, it's going to sound soppy, it's going to say really, everyone fucking says this, Rob, but I do. I've got such a lovely community around me, because the people that I don't know don't fucking talk to me, they just like my stuff, and the people that do know me are absolutely lovely, and I'm really, really privileged to know them. It's the perfect setup for someone like myself. But I do think Instagram at the moment is becoming a bit of a place where people are trying to get their reach, and they're trying to do these things to kind of like get noticed and stand out from the crowd. And, you know, do you have to become a meme account? Do you have to change your stuff? And I refuse to. A good believer, and once again, it was Emma from On Darkened Wings told me this, is that integrity leads to longevity. And I think that was something really, really wonderful there. That was a really good saying. So I am a firm believer of that. I'm just going to tidy up this inside section just here. Don't worry if we splodge, because we know that anything that isn't in a crevice is just Mournfang brown, so I can tidy it up if I need to. But we can just kind of feather that in and run it back and forth. I do apologise if my chonky little hands are in the way. You should have your name, and I don't know, I don't want my name on Warhammer, on the wall in Warhammer. There's better suited people for that sort of thing. And Josh is, for those that don't know, Josh is one of them. Hey, Josh is a Warhammer. We've got a Warhammer hero in the chat. Go on. When was the last time you had one of them? Hobby hero. And even if you weren't, he's still my hero. Ah, ah. I love Josh to bits. So yeah, that's kind of where I think I stand on that one. Whether it was said as a joke and just taken in poor taste, maybe, I don't know, but I think there's a lot of people at the moment that were sick of the Conservatives and were looking for something to kind of blow up. I just think it's in very ill taste. So there we go. Look, I've tidied up that little line there where I just kind of like, you know, it wasn't a nice solid colour. But there we go. I'm quite happy with how that's turning out. We're just going to wait for this little section in here to dry. As you can see, we've got that really nice kind of blend. Everything's kind of like feathered out. You know, the nice thing about doing this method with a wet palette here is that you can add a bit of water and it will become, you know, runnier. Like I've just seen a little bit here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Mournfang just here. And I just want to kind of work that just into here. Yeah, so you know, it's, I think it's just a bit of a, it's an iffy old place at the moment, is social media. I get why. I get that, you know, Instagram doesn't really help its creators and it can be very frustrating. However, you know, I do think that sometimes we just need to step back and maybe think before we post. I like a laugh. I've said some rubbish online before, normally on the Warhammer official community kind of thing, that I will pipe up and, you know, I'll say some bits in good humour, or at least I hope people find it in. I don't think I've had anyone kind of call me out on it yet. Apart from that one guy that thought I was talking about Horus Heresy once, because I said that I would rather have new models than redid old models. And he told me to stay in my fucking lane. It was brilliant. It was one of the best conversations I ever had. So it was just absolutely priceless. I've got some good Mournfang brown there. We're not going to worry about that just yet. So next, what we're going to do, we're going to add a little bit of highlights. For this, I am going to be using Carrick Stone. If you wanted to, you could use something like Scrag Brown, which will give you more of a, I guess, an orangey kind of like leather look to it. It is good. This tends to go more creamy. I think what I might do is add some Scrag Brown, just to show you, because I'm going to use that for highlights anyway. So let's do that. Why not? let's be spontaneous. So let's just get a bit, oh God. That's all we need. I'm just going to pop it on. Again, there's not a lot there, but I am going to mix it in with my Mournfang Brown. And then what I am going to do is I'm going to add some water. Again, we're going to make this flow really, really nice and easy. It's just going to help. Something like this, it's kind of semi-transparent. I can kind of see the, however you can see that down there as I move it around, I can kind of move it away from the paper. So it's not quite a glaze, but we are kind of like on the way to it. And all I'm going to do, just on the sharp ridges, we're just going to paint it just along, just to kind of, I guess, add that readiness to it. The trick with the scuffing comes much later, but what you can do, and this is where I find the trick with leather, instead of painting lines, obviously do your highlights, then start feathering it out, little short lines just towards the middle. So like same here on this edge. All I'm going to do, we can kind of do a little bit of a line there, and all I'm going to do, we're just going to start painting it just towards the edge. Nice, short, sharp. This is what we're going to start getting, because we're going to start making our highlights look a bit scruffy, and this is going to start to sell the effect of that kind of, you know, tatty, worn leather that we want. So this is just again an instance of just working your way round towards the edge. Again, you can do a few passes of this. You can add some deeper kind of flicks and stuff like that, which I'm doing. Focus more towards the edges down here, where it obviously would be a bit more kind of scuffed. You can just, you know, don't worry too much about it. Now, as you can see there, we're starting to get that worn kind of effect, which is, this is what we want. Again, so things like here where this is maybe a bit too kind of thin, what I would do is I would kind of start dotting a highlight like this, and then I would just little flicks just like that, and I would probably leave that there. Same again for this side. Obviously we've got this bit of recess here, so again we're just going to start flicking, tapping our brush. I'm almost like tapping the end of the brush just up the line, just like that. And that's going to be, you know, what we kind of work with. Again, I'm just going to work my way around this, and we'll take it from there. So, you know, we've probably got a few minutes. Definitely my heart. Ah, Josh, I love you to bits, man. Don't ever change. You're the best person. For things like here, where we've got a bit more of a bigger kind of area to cover, what I would actually do is get a bit more water, because we want this really nice and thin. And same again, we're going to start really wide at the top here, and we're just going to start working our way up, just flicking it across that kind of. I'm not overly concerned with being so neat, as we're not going to see a lot of this guy, which is a shame. When the back's on, it's going to look a bit, you know, all this hard work isn't really going to be seen. But again, I'm just going to work my way just up, tapering it as obviously the skirt thing gets thinner, until we can just dot it. Don't be worried about doing, you know, a few different angles and stuff like that. We just want to build out that kind of where the light would hit that edge just there. Just keep working it in. The nice thing about this, again, because when it dries, it goes semi-transparent, so you never get, as you can see, like here, our first ones that have dried. You can do quite a few passes of this, and it will look really, really good. Like, you can build up a really bright colour, which I would probably be more inclined to do, you know, a bit more on this one. Just kind of work my way, just leave it like that. So that's where I am. You know, I just thought hobby drama, like, it's so weird, because it's little toy soldiers, and I know, you know, we all look at this differently, and we all get different things out of the hobby and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it is, isn't it? It's little plastic figures. And I know some people take it really seriously, some people don't. you know, and people that do take seriously, absolutely brilliant. You know, I generally hope it's bringing you, you know, the enjoyment, the passion, you're getting out of it what you want. I think the problem we get is when people take it a bit too far and they almost become, like, dare I say, like Warhammer extremists, that they live and breathe it, and to the point where you can't have a normal conversation with someone because they are too obsessed with bringing Warhammer into, you know, the real world. And I personally think there is nothing worse than trying to talk to someone normally, because I often say this, Warhammer's not even the most interesting thing about me, and I stand by that fact even to the day. But you know, I think that, you know, you're having a nice cup of tea with someone and they're turning around and going, yeah, this is fit for the Emperor, and it's like, why have you got to say that? You know, there's a nice sunset. Yeah, dawn on Terra. And you think, why? Why can't you just leave that where it is and have a nice conversation? And I think sometimes those are the people that maybe need to kind of just take a step back and stop the hobby for a little bit. And dare I say touch grass, but, you know, I think there's definitely something wrong there. There's an obsession there. I like an MMO. Obviously, I like the games. I used to be a big fan of Final Fantasy 11. I remember getting it on my Xbox. Are we back? Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't replace real life, and it shouldn't. You know, don't forget, like you know, neglect and forget about the things that are actually really important. And I think, dare I say, I do believe that Warhammer should have a warning like it. It's like it's a world that's so rich in lore and stories, which is fantastic. But I don't think it should ever replace, you know, the real world. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I've stayed away from the lore of Warhammer, because I've seen people just go absolutely mental with it and been so difficult to talk to that I've not wanted to talk to them, which is, you know, for someone that likes to chat, fuck, I've been doing it for nearly an hour. You know, that's saying something. So that's where we are with our highlights. We've done a pass of them. It's subtle, but it kind of just brings it all together. Do just bear with us for a minute. I'll do my best to kind of explain. Where I am at the moment, it's actually raining cats and dogs, not cat or rabbit. Whee! But we've actually got an amber weather warning where we are. It's torrential rain outside, so I do apologise if any of the footage kind of goes in and out. I will do my best to kind of keep an eye on it. I can't really see my camera because of where I'm working. It's obviously above me, and I'm kind of like, I sit here like a bit of a goblin, all hunched down. I don't really look at it. So I just bear with us. Normally I get a warning on my chat. It tells me my chat's been disconnected, and that's how I know, because I have the chat just up over there. However, that's not happened. So look, the next step, what we are going to do is Carrack Stone. Now, I have mixed this in with my Mournfang and Scrag Brown mix. The nice thing about this stage is you can really play around with it. It only needs to be a little bit lighter than kind of what we're doing. So like here, I'm going to mix a bit more Mournfang. I want it more like a, dare I say, a creamy beige. Creamy beige. We don't need to worry about adding too much water to this, because this is where we're going to start doing our little flicks and our worn kind of leather. So you'll see straight away, and I'll show you on this little section down here, if we just use the edge of our brush and we kind of brush it up, we've got that lovely sharp highlight. And then all we're going to do, and I've got a really good point on this brush, is I'm just going to start little dinks here and there. You can do it all the way around the kind of little, you know, bits. Dot the highlights here and there. We want to make corners look more scuffed. And you can see already, that's it. That's the effect we wanted right there. And it's all come together in that last little section. What I'm going to do with this, I'll add like a nice sharp highlight to the bottom of things, like just here, just like this. And then I will, on any creases, little dots, lines, just little scuffs. You can do it all over. I find sometimes they stand out more when you actually do it to like the darker sections. Don't worry, it's going to be really subtle. Just make sure you've got a really nice sharp point, and then obviously work your way around the miniature. Just little dots here and there. From the bottom as well, to make it look really scuffed. And that's it, just work your way around the model, and then we'll repeat the process with a neat kind of bit of Carrick stone. The one thing I am going to be conscious of here is once the back's on, just to save a bit of time as well, it kind of sits about there. You're not actually going to see a lot of the back of this model, so I probably won't go all the way around it. Or will I? I don't know. I don't know if I can live my life like that. I tend to have to paint everything because that's just who I am. So, but little scuffs, little lines. Don't think too much about it. You can work your way up as much as you want. Just have fun with this stage. I think this is the funnest part of it. Obviously, it's really satisfying getting that nice kind of highlight down and things like that. However, I think this stage is a lot of fun because you get to kind of just muck around with the model and just add those little sections here and there. Just work your way around. Little lines, just where we worked on our highlights originally, where we kind of scuffed them in. One thing I find is that if I sit a certain way, I always tend to do the little dinks one way. So change up your angle of your miniature, so you've got some going straight down, some going straight up. Just keep working it in. All the way. Again, I'm not going to go up to the top because you're not going to see a lot of this. But we just want to make it look like that leather, that leather's kind of cracked on that fold, and it's doing its thing. So we can just all the way around. One thing I find with little highlights like this, where he's got his little tears in his cloak, you can just kind of like dot your brush around them to give you that kind of effect. And again, like here where the recess meets, a few little dots down it, it's just going to help. And then we're going to follow it around. Obviously in this bit here, we can do some bigger kind of scuffs. It's more of a focal point. Just once again, don't think too much about it. I'll be honest, I'm not really looking. Around here again. Just keep working your way. All little scuffs. Like here, because we're going to see this is good. Kind of do like a little X there, cross them over, and then same again. It's the corners is the trick. That's what I always think, is making sure those corners look really kind of scuffed. Same again, we can just follow it up with a nice sharp highlight on the edge there, and you can see I haven't used a lot of paint on my brush at all while doing this. I haven't had to refill it. But again, we can just there. And that is, we can carry that highlight on just there. Use the edge of your brush, flick it. I'm doing it freehand because I'm a cheeky boy. Just like that. And that is the first pass. Obviously, I am going to do a second. You can see that there. I'm hoping the quality of the camera is still kind of, half decent. Feel free to go back and do a couple of passes of this. Again, I'm not going to do so much because obviously a lot of it's going to be covered up with this when we do it. I think, do you ever see a piece of a miniature and just think, I can't wait to paint that? That's going to be a lovely, beautiful, bright red with a nice white inside. And in the next one, I'll show you how to do the little line that covers round. It's easy to you'll say it's easy to do. It's not. You will have to practice, and if you've never done it before, and stuff like freehand kind of scares you a little bit, but it looks really good. All that's left to do, I'm going back to Carrick Stone now, just a tiny little bit, not mixed in with absolutely anything, but I haven't washed my brush out once while doing this. And then same again, all I'm going to do, focus on the little bits, little dots here and there, and this is what's just going to make that last little thing pop. You know, feel free to do some more lines and stuff like that. This is going to be a lot brighter than the last set, so it will kind of draw the eye, but I find having that 2 layers of scuffs, you'll see that it looks like some have aged and some are new, and that's what's really going to sell this effect. So this is definitely, you know, what my preferred method for doing this type of thing is. Again, little flicks here and there. We're focusing on those bottom bits of the fold. Any little kind of sections, I will do some little highlights there, and just, you know, where I really want to draw the eye, we can make it a bit brighter around here. Things here and there, just all over. Don't worry about too much. Don't. The key for this stage is not to think about it. And if you're someone like me, that is perfect. We can just kind of flick it round. And obviously I'll put a before and after. I did remember to do a little thumbnail. I was like, oh, I was sitting here and I was kind of like, oh my God, I should do a before and after. Normally I'm not that organized, as you know. Some of my thumbnails, they're very, you know, what you see is what you get. I kind of pride myself in that. There is no clickbait rubbish here. Yeah, sometimes you do have to use a little bit of a, is this the best model Warhammer's ever produced? But I guarantee you there'll be a picture of that model on there. Because I do try and just be a bit more honest. Yeah, I could probably get more subscribers, and, you know, if I did that sort of thing, but it's not me. I don't think I've got it in me to be dishonest or disingenuous with my community, because why would I? Silly. So look, there we go. That is kind of it. We've got a nice bit of depth. We've got, you know, our highlights, and then we've got these lovely little scuff marks all the way around it. Just makes it look like that's been dragging on the floor. I think with black armor, gold trim, and a big red cape. He's also got this really cool kind of like fur on, which I can show you how to do. It's really, really cool. This guy's going to look so good. And obviously the base, I did bases beforehand. I'll probably just kind of dry brush it and add some tufts and that to make it look a bit kind of like muddy and that, but we'll do that kind of last. So look, there it is. That is worn leather. Now, again, I started talking about 10 minutes in. I started painting about 10 minutes in. Obviously, I have only painted this bottom part, and we have been rambling. So that's an hour it's taken me to do that. But we've got a really, really good effect. I'm really proud of that. And that's going to look great on any model. And I think if you're just looking to push leather, rather than just paint something brown and maybe wash it with Agrax Earthshade, this is a really, really lovely way of doing it. We've used, I mean, 4 paints in the end. We don't have to use Scrag Brown. We could have leapt straight into this kind of like with Mournfang Brown and then gone for a pass of highlights. However, I just wanted to push it a little bit. So there you go, 4 paints, which still is really easy. No washes whatsoever. Again, if you're not confident in doing low lights, and do you know what? Mournfang Brown, use something like Agrax Earthshade. I like this. This is Dark Star. This is their wash they make. It's called Murky Maya. I've been using this a lot recently. It's a really, really lovely dark kind of like tone wash. Re-highlight with that, then mix a little bit in with that and just do some little scuffs. Remember, it's that tapping motion all the way along. You can use the edge of your brush, you can use the tip of it. Just make sure that you haven't got to be accurate. You just work your way up all the way. Keep tapping it. And that's it. That's really worn leather. That's as easy, I guess, as it is. Timu, yeah, I'm sorry, I do ramble in it while painting. One of the things that I did want to do, if you are just kind of joining us, the stream is going to come to a close now. is that I just wanted to show you that although sometimes these things are really, really easy to do, or they are easy to do, sometimes they're not the quickest. So obviously worn leather and stuff like that, 4 paints, you could do it with 3, you could do it with 2 and a wash. You know, it's definitely really, really achievable. Just take time with it and enjoy the process. And I find that it's one of those things that I really look forward to doing, that stupid stage of highlights. And it's almost like my reward for painting that section. So about an hour of time this has kind of taken me. Once again, I will put up some high-res pictures. If for any reason it starts to dry and you're not happy with discuss, like I've just seen here, I'd like these a little bit brighter. You can just kind of come back in, tap it, you know, where the highlights would be, just to build it up until you are happy with it. But I find that little kind of tapping motion all over, little lines here and there, just to kind of show the age of the cloak. And, you know, maybe this guy's bought a few kind of, you know, one too many battles. Good old Stormcast Eternals. That's, you know, where it is. It's easy. Again, it's easy. It's just time consuming. And, you know, it's one of those things that just demands a little bit of time, and you'll get a really, really good effect if you're willing to put the time in. And I think with models, what's the rush? What are you in a rush for? You're not. I know not everyone is a painter, not everyone likes to paint and stuff like that. Me and Josh, in that regard, a bit chalk and cheese. He just wants to get stuff on the table, and you've got to respect that. But if you wanted to kind of push yourself and try something a little bit different, there we go. Xeris Purple is a fantastic colour, and purple is such an underrated colour, especially when it comes to highlighting reds and things like that, reds, browns, even green. A purple undercut green gives an amazing effect. In actual fact, I've got, and where is it? Just here. It's an absolutely beautiful. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the army painter. They get a bit, oh, you like the army painter. Yeah, that's because I used it with the proper instructions and never had an issue. Oh, I had it here a minute ago. This right here is a fantastic colour. Add a bit of like speed paint medium to it and use that as like a deep tone. It's really, really good. It's you still on? I hope so, because if I'm, you know, if I'm not and this is still going, something's gone wrong. But yeah, Swarm Purple, Purple Swarm. This is a really, really, really lovely colour. There was a darker one as well that I was using, but I found that I had to, this one, Moonlake Coral. Again, there's not much in it between the two. This is more like borderline on the magenta side of things. But I'm going to point this out to people. See this little cube on speed paint? That's your highlight, that's your mid-tone, that's your dark tone. For people that don't, it's not just a little cube, that is actually it there. I thought I'd point that out because no one seemed to realise that. You get a really lovely colour, but I found that I just had to water it down too much, and I did much prefer the Purple Swarm because it was mostly more of the blue side of things than it was the kind of magenta, if you will. But yes, really, really lovely colours. Speed paint, they're your friend. They're a really, really good product. Just use them properly, for fuck's sake. Don't bloody complain about things when you're misusing a product. I get it, 1.0 might not have been great, but 2.0 is fucking fantastic, and I love it. Although, never really used 1.0. Josh did, never had a problem with it, but then he never painted over it, so he never got any reactivation. So there we go. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. Yeah, Emperor's Children all day long. Yeah, absolutely. This was the worn leather. I'm going to finish his sleeves. I'm going to do his sleeves up here. A similar thing. What I will do is Wednesday, I will be painting some odd bits on him. And then maybe, I think Friday, if people would like, do it. I mean, do you really need a kid? What are they? They're just an expense. Don't worry about it. Just, you know, sink or swim. Learn to fend for yourself. Don't let it mess up the hobby time, you know. Those space marines aren't going to paint themselves. Yes, Wednesday I'll be live with Josh for about 7:30ish, and then Friday what I'll do, maybe I'll have a beer. We'll get a nice can of London Pride on the go, and I'll show you how I'm going to do the cape. The cape is a very similar way of doing it. However, obviously it's brighter colours, should be a bit easier to see. I'll show you how I kind of paint the inside. That's going to be white. I'll do that lovely little line that some of them have. Give me your email address and I'll send her a really strongly worded email. I'll get you that room. Don't you worry about it. Yeah, we'll do this a really, really lovely white. We'll do this really bright, vibrant red. I think this is going to look fantastic. Wednesday, I will be doing the armour probably with Josh, which is obviously going to be the Helden Hammer, the black dudes with the gold trim. So yeah, that's where we are this week. And then Saturday there's a video coming out, really cool unboxing, one I'm really, really looking forward to. Can't say nothing about it though because embargoes. But yeah, we'll do that. I've got some brushes. I've got some brushes sent to me by Artify. Really kindly, I've been using their dry brushes now, just down here, but they sent me this lovely brush set and I'm dying to try this. I've never had nice brushes before. I've always used kind of like Games Workshop or occasionally like the Redgrass ones, which are quite nice actually. They're a bit more expensive. But this has got some lovely brushes. So we've got some really cool detail brushes here. So I really want to put them to use and go through them. So I think I might use these on the cape. Like that's a lovely basing brush just there. And it comes in this cool little bag that I can carry around like an old granny. And then they sent me the dry brushes as well, which I actually have been using. These two in particular, the 5 and the 3. But it comes with a brush cleaner, which I've been using to condition my brushes, which is, I think it makes a difference. I've never been one. I used to use a little Lynx bar of soap. And you also get the cool little thing that you wet. As you know, if you watch my dry brushing video, I always say wet your bristles first and add a bit of moisture to it. This is what it is. It's a little bit of sponge. You soak it in water, wring it out, wipe it on it, and it wets the bristles. Really, really nice, lovely little set. I need to look into knowing, how much these things would have cost and stuff like that. But we've got, if you're doing terrain, what an actual beast of a brush that is. Like, how nice is that? So, tickle my beard. It's lovely. Yeah, maybe I'll use some of that for the cape. We'll see. But there we go. Right, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. This is way too long. And I'm dying for a wee. And I've got to get the sausage dog out in this weather. And he does not like the rain. So that's going to be a fight. So yeah, there we go. Look, thanks for everyone who did join. If you're watching from the future, if you made it this far, thanks. Like, subscribe, whatever. You can tell your mates. Really helps me out. Just kind of keeps that algorithm going and stuff like that, which is, good. But look, that's it from me. Thanks everyone that popped in. Thanks everyone for keeping company. If you try these methods, if you just want to send me stuff, I'm on Instagram as Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studio. There's links. I'll put links in the description. Thanks for keeping us company. It's been a pleasure for me to share my evening with you guys. I always like to say thank you because, this is why, I generally do these types of things. So look, thanks for everyone for letting me ramble on and, the privilege of having your company. That is it for me in this one. Yes. I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care. Bye.